Salutations strangers, welcome to another video. My name is Auralee and today's video is going to be a little different. It's going to be a sort of stream of consciousness video. Basically, I'm going to talk about my experience with my National Portfolio Day, specifically the one in Boston, which is the one I went to, obviously. And I'm hoping that this will be helpful for people that are considering going to National Portfolio Day, but maybe you have to pay to like travel there, so you're not quite sure if it's worth it, etc. So I'm just going to talk about my experience, and hopefully you find out like if it's helpful, if it's worth it. If you're like me, you'll probably have like thousands of questions about like, what time do I get there? Is there a line? Do I have to wait? Should I eat beforehand? And what pieces to bring in my portfolio, etc. So hopefully this will be sort of helpful and sort of help you de-stress before you go. Some notes on my phone so that I can sort of have somewhat of an organization thing going on, so I'm not just like blah 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 and then get so off topic like I'm doing right now. So first thing, to get started, I went to 4 tables, and those 4 tables took me the entirety of the length of the National Portfolio Day. I think mine started at 4 and ended 8? I can't remember. But so the tables that I went to were Maine College of Art, Parsons, Pratt, and the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. The last one was sort of just like oh, I have 30 minutes left, what do I want to do? Let's go to this table. I did not go to RISD because I had already visited RISD on a college tour, and my teacher told me that if you're planning to go have your portfolio reviewed by RISD, which is a very popular art school, you should get in line there first, but more on that later. So just like an extra warning at the beginning in case some people will stop watching later. So, okay. You arrive there when it starts. Mine started at 4 o'clock, but the group that I was with, we decided to eat beforehand, and we ended up being like 20 minutes late because it just took longer than we thought. Basically when we got there, we just walked right in. I was expecting a line, but there wasn't, and I think that's because we were like 20 minutes late. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think ours started at 5. So I think it was 5 to 8. So I think it's 3 hours. But I'm not sure. I'll have to look it up and I'll put a little like note here or something. Maybe I'll find it, maybe I won't. So there wasn't a line when we got there, which is good. I think if you get there like on time or early, you will have to wait in a line. But once everyone gets let in, like it's like pretty like free. You can just walk in. And then my group split up because we had juniors and seniors, and I am a senior, and so some of the girls, there weren't any boys with us, but some of the girls that were in my group were just juniors, and if you're a junior, it's really helpful just to like go to whatever table is open, because technically you're not looking for those specific schools, unless you're graduating early or something. And so just getting any feedback on your portfolio is helpful. So since I was a senior, I went to specific tables, and my first table was the Maine College of Art table. Maine College of Art is the closest like art college to where I live, and I thought it might be less stressful to go to a less intimidating college table first. Like comparing Maine College of Art to like Parsons, it's a little like bit of a stretch. And so showing your art to someone is a very stressful experience. Even if you're a really confident person, I just think it's like a hard thing to do, to just like throw everything that you've been working on and be like, here, judge me. But a tip is to not think about it like that. You're trying to see if this college is a fit to you, not really the other way around. Like, they're not like judging you to see like if your work is good enough or not. Obviously they're gonna be nice. They're not gonna be like, oh, that's not good. But they might be like, okay, good, and like not give you any feedback, which is something that happened to me once or twice, but I'll talk more about that later. And so going along with that, I would come with a list of questions for the colleges that you're visiting. It makes you appear a bit more prepared, and it's actually very helpful to get your questions answered by someone face to face. Of course, sometimes the people don't have enough time to answer you, which is what happened to me at the Parsons table, because Parsons is really popular and they had a lot of people to go through, and I went there for my second table, and it took me an hour to get through the line. So I understood that they had to like keep going and get to other people. And with that, since it took me like an hour to get through Parsons line, I'm sure if I went to RISD, I probably would have not been able to get into the Parsons line, because I saw people in the RISD line as soon as I got there, and the line was like the longest line out of all of them, and you could tell that that was like RISD's line. Also, another good tip to make waiting a lot less awful, make friends. Now, don't worry, I'm not usually a, what's the word, gregarious person. I don't talk to people that I like don't know very easily, but I did talk to this one girl, and she like asked me a question first, and I was like, oh yeah, blah blah blah, and then afterwards I was like, you know what, I'm bored, maybe we'll just talk while we're in the line. And it actually helped the line go a lot faster, because like I said, I was in the line for Parsons for an hour, but when I started talking to her, the wait, like, it just like went down really fast. One second, I'm gonna change this lighting because I don't like how my hand literally casts a shadow on my face every time I'm talking. Either that, or I'll try not using my hand as much. Okay, I'm back, and I think the lighting looks a little better, hopefully. I changed some things around. Also, I'm sorry my voice is like really bad today because I have a sore throat and cold stuff. It's cold outside. I said I wasn't gonna get off topic. I'm gonna try to. Also, if you make friends in the line, it will save your phone battery, because my phone battery was like 30 minutes from dying, and then I started talking to this girl and I didn't touch my phone, and then later I was like, oh, I still have battery on my phone. Yes. Now this is the one part that everyone's like super freaked out about. So, or at least I was. When you actually get up to the table, it's easier if you have your pieces in like a big folder that you can just put out. That way you don't have to pull out each piece from your portfolio individually. So for example, I was provided with this bag for my portfolio, and it's just like a little bag, and this is like a styrofoam piece that's just in here so that it'll like stay upright and stuff. I took everything out of here, so it's sort of just empty. But what I had in there was I had this, which is just like a giant manila folder, if that's like the right word to use. But basically I just had like all of my artwork in here. So when I get up to the table, I would just come up and I would put it on the table and I would open it, and then I'd be like, okay, well, here's the first piece, blah blah blah, etc. And that way, let me put this away, it's gonna be loud. That way it's so much easier, instead of like pulling one out of your portfolio, putting it on the table, and then like digging around for another one. Sort of having an order to the pieces that you put on the table is a lot better. my teacher recommended to not put your favorite piece out first, but something that you're definitely proud of, and then for your second or third piece, put something that's like really powerful. I also found that I created a zine for my school, interviewing different students about topics that aren't usually talked about. And I found that that was actually really popular among the schools that I showed it to. I actually didn't show it to the first college and Pratt, the main college of art and Pratt, because I just wasn't sure that it was like that strong of a thing, and I was like, But then Parsons and the School of Art of the Art Institute of Chicago really liked it, and I think like pieces with a story behind them really do attract people, because as humans they like storytelling and stuff. So if you have a story to tell about a piece, or if you have something that maybe you like collaborated on, that would be really helpful. I also brought my sketchbook, and I showed like how pieces came from my sketchbook to my bigger pieces that I made. And also a tip about that is some tables will work differently than other tables. So for example, the first two tables that I went to were Main College of Art and Parsons, and with Main College of Art and Parsons, I went up there and I laid out my thing, and I pulled out the pieces and I showed them my pieces, and I was like, okay, here's my first piece, it's about this, blah blah blah. Here are my other two pieces, they come from my sketchbook, blah blah blah. And then I would be the one dictating stuff about my pieces to them, and they would sit there and listen. They'd be like, oh, okay, 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 and they would like tell me what they liked or what they didn't like. Although with Parsons, she gave me the option of whether or not she should just talk about each pieces or talk at the end, and I asked her to just talk at the end because I figured that would be more helpful, because I'm not as much worried about individual pieces as I am for the portfolio as a whole. Okay, I would say that the worst feedback I got was from Pratt, and it might have been because Pratt was the third table that I went to, and there was only like 45 minutes left of the whole portfolio day, and their line went pretty fast, so I'm guessing the people in front of me had sort of the same feedback experience from this guy from Pratt, but instead of like me showing my portfolio and like dictating the pieces, the guy that was there for Pratt took my portfolio, opened it up himself, and just went through, and I kept trying to like interject with little tidbits about each piece because I really wanted to like show like how it represents me and stuff like that, aka like BS. Okay, my camera just like died out of nowhere. Well, it didn't die, but overheated, but it's not actually hot. I don't know how to fix it. I'm gonna look it up on YouTube later. But okay, I would say that the worst feedback I got was from Pratt, and it wasn't necessarily like bad, like, oh, that's bad, or like something like that. Like, no one's gonna be that mean to you, but it definitely, like, it wasn't even feedback. It was just sort of like generic like BS or something. And I think it was probably because the guy had already been there for like 2.5 hours, and this was like during the last hour or so, and the line that I was in for Pratt, like, it went pretty like fast, so I'm thinking that he probably gave the same feedback to people in front of the line, in front of me in the line, that he did to me. But basically they took my portfolio, which I had in a little folder, big folder, sorry, and they opened it themselves, and he just started flipping through like really quickly, and I was like trying to interject like and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just stand here and watch him look at my work awkwardly. And so he was like looking through it, and Like when I would try to say something, like I would say like maybe a sentence or something, I'd be like, okay, great, moves on, okay, great, moves on, okay, great, moves on, okay, great. And I'm like, okay, great? But that's about as bad as it gets. Like, no one's gonna be mean about your work, because that would just honestly be like a bad word move. So also, if you do any digital artwork, you can bring your laptop, which is what I did, because I had an animation, and my zine that I talked about was also on my computer. And I didn't see that many other people with their laptop, but I did see a few, and I think that's just because more people that are going to these National Portfolio Days are bringing along like huge paintings and stuff like that. I'm not really a painting person. I can paint, but I mean, it's not my favorite thing to do. It was really helpful to get reactions from colleges that I went to, because the animation that I had like wasn't my strongest. It definitely like wasn't a big like 2-minute long animation, big 2-minute, but like colleges liked it. So for the feedback that I got, I actually wrote it down on my phone, which is really helpful. At first I didn't do that, but then I was like, oh, I should be writing this stuff down. They do have little sheets that they write notes on, but because you have to like fill out sheets while you're in the line, and then you give them to them, and they're like, oh, okay, we have your email, we're gonna email you stuff, etc. And so they'll like write notes on it, but it's helpful to take your own notes. So for Maine College of Art, they told me to like make my pieces look more finished and be more confident with my lines. They liked a couple pieces. They liked my animation, and they liked a tree pattern drawing thing that I did. And they talked to me about doing life drawings. I didn't bring any life drawings. Okay, my camera did the internal heat thing again, and I thought I was recording. Wasn't recording. So I'm just gonna start back from the notes about take your own notes. If this wasn't in the other part, take your own notes, really helpful. For Maine College of Art, they told me to have my pieces look more finished with deliberate lines. They liked a couple of my pieces, which was helpful to know like which pieces they liked, and they said to do 3 life drawings. For most colleges, they require you to do 2 or 3 life drawings in your portfolio, which I'm not a fan of, because I don't like life drawings. But for some colleges, life drawings are not required. Like Parsons, not required. Savannah College of Art and Design, not required. Savannah College of Art and Design, yeah. Or SCAD. So from Parsons, I got a lot of feedback, or I just wrote down a lot because I was probably excited about it. They told me that one of my pieces was strong, to turn one of my pieces into more of a story, blah blah blah. I put like a little apple beside notes that are like more important, just because that's all I could think of. But they told me to get a picture of the zine that I was showing them on my laptop. Get pictures of everything that I'm going to put in my portfolio. Maybe take some pictures of my sketchbook to upload to my portfolio. Finish a painting that I showed them. Yeah, that's basically it. And then for Pratt, I literally just wrote down one thing, which was show yourself, because that was the only advice that he gave me besides, okay, great. And then the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, I don't know why do they need all those words? They said to refine my work. They liked a comic that I showed them. They liked some portraits. They didn't like One Piece, but other colleges did like it, so it's like, and yeah, etc. Also, when I was at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago table, they actually approved my portfolio and they were like, congrats, you're accepted. And I was like, what? If you get the same thing that happens to you, if that happens to you, it means that your portfolio has been approved, but you still have to like apply to the college and send in your transcript and stuff, and you also have to send in your portfolio as well. So I don't really understand how it helps you. I mean, I guess you would get an advantage when you apply compared to people that haven't had their portfolio reviewed before. So yeah, overall I'm actually really glad I went. The morning I left, I almost backed out because I was going with people I didn't talk to. It was in Boston and I was like really freaked out. But I'm really glad that I went and got a lot of good feedback, and I learned more about the colleges that I visited. So I'd recommend you go if you're submitting a portfolio to a college, and overall it's an exciting experience that you can learn from. Yes. Okay, that's all I have in my notes for this video, and I hope you guys liked it. Please subscribe for more content. Most of my videos are much shorter than this, but this is more just like a stream of consciousness, like talking. Hopefully it helped you decide whether or not to go to the National Portfolio Day. Yes, so bye and see you in the next video.